Okay, so today I wanted to do a video that I think Murphy did on her channel. I don't know how long ago. Time is not real. Time continues to be not real. But it's like this reading preferences sort of tag. She didn't make it a tag video, but I'm making it a tag video. So I'm gonna link her original video down below. And it kind of just has prompts that it's about reading preferences. And I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to talk about these things. These things are fun to talk about and think about. And if you want to answer these, you can put them in the comments below and follow along, or go to my Discord and we can talk about it over there. I just feel like when you're a reader and you like to read, it's fun to talk about your preferences. I don't know. Maybe that's weird, but it's how I feel. So let's see. The first one she had was, which perspective is your favorite? And this is, I think, like third, first, second, etc. And I feel like I'm weird, but I think I really love, when used right, the second person. And I know that's like not a common answer, but every time it's been used for me, it's like in my favorite book or something like that. Like Looking at You, fifth season. And there are just so many others that when I'm reading like a short story and it's in the second person, that I feel like way more connected, and probably because they're talking to me, right? Because they're just saying you a lot. I really like it. I like when sci-fi stories use the second person a lot. It really puts me in the action. So I'm a little weird. Now, if I had to choose one of the more traditional ones that are used more often, like first person or third, I do think I lean more towards third person, just because I do like to be close to my characters. I don't like to be super far away from them. So like, I think, I don't remember I'm very bad at grammar, but there's one third person where you're like very far away and removed, and there's one where you're closer, and I like the closer one. Because I do like to know what the characters are thinking and why they're reacting to the world the way they do. I do prefer that. First person sometimes can be a little close. Like, it's definitely easier for me to read and I don't mind it. But first person, sometimes if I don't like that character, then it's over. Like, I think there's one, I'm pretty sure this is in first person. That's part of why I don't like it. Oh yeah, I don't like The Reckoners by Brandon Sanderson. And part of it is it's first person, and I hate the main character so much. So if I don't like the character and it's first person, it's a bad time. Versus if it's third person, I'm given a little bit of distance so I can still find maybe the redeeming qualities, or maybe I just don't even get as frustrated in the main character. So that's kind of my preferences for if it's third, first, or second. Like I said, I'm weird. I really, really like second person. If it's done well, I think it's a really fun, like, narrative device. Do you prefer a character or plot-focused book? I prefer character-focused if I had to choose between these two, but I'm also going to add that I'm also very, like, world-building focused, if that makes sense. Like, I want to be exploring the world as well as being with the characters, and the plot needs to exist. Like, I can't not, like, there needs to be a plot. There are some books that, like, have no plot, and I'm like, well, I don't really know what we're doing here. Like, even if the plot is just day in the life, like, that's a plot, that's fine, I can do that. One of my favorite books of this year is very, like, follow these people go on this year-long journey traveling around a planet. Like, it's not a very intense plot, but there's still, like, something. But I love characters and world building, specifically not just like character focused, but like character interpersonal, like relationship focused. I love that. Like, you can probably give me a character that's just really good on their own, but if they don't like have friends or families or enemies or anyone that they're interacting with, I'm not going to be as into that story. I want to see those relationships. I want to see those relationships develop. Nothing will make me more frustrated with a book than when that development is off page. No, I'm here for it right here, especially because I read a lot of long fantasy. And if the book's already long and we're already talking about other stuff that I don't really care about, like, I don't even know, like, just whether there's something on a side table in a bedroom, like, that's, you know, random descriptors. It's like, we're focusing on that, but we're not focusing on these people being in a fight and how we're going to resolve that. Like, no, I want to see that. So I am very character and world building focused, but it in specific ways. Like with world building, it's not just enough to, like, tell me about the world. The world also has to be intriguing to me. Like, you have to give me, like, some questions, like, ooh, why is the world the way it is? I need to figure this out. Like, I need to be intrigued, kind of like my scientist brain needs to be curious about it and wants to discover more. Do you care about prose? I mean, yes and no. Like, I care in that I don't want the prose to be a barrier of entry for me. If the prose is too dense, too lyrical, has too large of a vocabulary that it impedes my ability to understand what is being communicated to me, that's an issue. It doesn't matter all the time, but I much prefer a writing style that does not interfere with me getting the story, because my primary reason for reading is to consume stories. That's the main reason I'm there reading the book, is I want to enjoy this story. This is a piece of entertainment that I'm consuming, and if there's a barrier for that, I'm not happy. It's kind of like if you're watching a Christopher Nolan movie and you want to hear what the characters are saying, but the sound balance is all off because they have this really cool soundtrack that they want you to hear, but the soundtrack's just too loud and you can't hear past it to get to the words. That's a really weird analogy, but that's sometimes how I feel with certain prose style, where it's like the sentence structure doesn't work for me, like run-on sentences. Like Faulkner is so hard for me because I'm like, my brain cannot focus, and we've been on this sentence for a page, and I forgot where this sentence started and what the point of it was. Who is the subject of this sentence anymore? I don't even know. Which is ironic because I definitely speak in run-on sentences, but it's probably why I forget what I was talking about and I switch sentences in the middle of everything I say. So I do care about prose, but not that they have to be a certain quality. They just can't detract from my reading experience, if that makes sense. How introspective do you want your characters to be? This is a hard one. So I feel like I definitely want some, because I want my characters to be thinking about their place in their world and situation, because I feel like that's a normal thing to do. Like, we're all a little introspective on our day-to-days. Normally my introspection is, what am I having for dinner? So I maybe don't want that level of things like that from my characters. But like I said earlier in this video, like, yes, I want to see a character in their own right develop, but I care way more about them interacting with other people and how those things develop. And if that is part of it is interpersonal, like, that's great. But I think that works better for me when we have like a multiple point of view book. So like a good example of this is A Memory Called Empire versus A Desolation Called Peace. So A Memory Called Empire, we only get Mahet. And I still love that book. I have a review for both of these books and I love both of them. But only having Mahet, and she's very like introspective in that book, it's like a very one-sided picture of the relationships being developed. Versus in A Desolation Called Peace, we get multiple point of views, and we get multiple perspectives and introspections, and there is a character interpersonal relationship development that I really liked seeing so much more in A Desolation Called Peace versus A Memory Called Empire, because I got to see like both sides of it. I'm also like this in like romance books. It's like, I want to see both people. I don't want to just see one. And I definitely don't want to just see like the one person that like annoys me in the relationship. I just finished A Court of Wings and Ruin, and like Feyre just like irks me. Oh, she irks me. But yeah, I think that's where I'm at with introspection. Especially, I want it to be like, this is a hard thing to really like pinpoint, but like I want it to feel like believable. And that's really hard to say because everyone's brain's different, and like honestly something that I can relate to is something other people wouldn't, and vice versa. But like I said, with Reckoners, this person like thinks in metaphors or like weird puns like in their brain all the time. And I was like, why? Like, why? And I think another good example, and this is probably why I don't like the Sanderson younger characters, is I have this book somewhere. Oh, I don't know where right now, but like Skyward. Spencer also has some like inner monologue introspection things that I'm like, is that really what you're thinking? Like, okay, like I just, sometimes if I really like find it kind of outlandish, it's kind of like a put off for me, but that's very subjective because like I said, everyone's brains are different. So just because like it doesn't relate to like how I think doesn't mean it's not like real, but there's like a certain level of like suspension of belief that I can put into it. But if it crosses that line, it can like harshly pull me from the story. How do you like your relationships? So I keep talking about it. I just like them to exist. It can be romantic, it can be platonic, it can be professional, but I just, gosh, they could be antagonistic, but I want them to exist. I want to see those relationships and I want them to make sense to me. One of my biggest complaints about Wheel of Time, and I'm in book 5, so obviously I know there are character arcs and things happen. I know. You don't need to tell me in the comments. It'll be fine. I'm still gonna read it. But one of my biggest complaints up to now is that a lot of the relationships make like no sense to me. Like, for example, you have a bunch of people that start the whole series in Eye of the World in one place together. they've lived with each other their whole lives. And if you weren't told that, I don't think you would believe it. Like, the way they interact with each other is just so foreign to me. It's just like, are you even friends sort of thing. So again, I think this comes back to like, if it goes past my suspension of disbelief and then it takes me out of the story and bothers me too much, like, I don't know, I just want relationships. I just like them all. I like all of the relationships as long as they're done well. I mean, gosh, it's been forever since I've read an insta-love. Maybe it's not been forever. There was kind of one in Gardens of the Moon, but I didn't even mind it. It wasn't too bad. And I do think that, like I said, I'm always happier when I get to see it. Like, maybe one of my smallest complaints for Gardens of the Moon is that I wanted more interpersonal relationships. I feel like this whole video is just me going, I love interpersonal relationships. But that's who I am. I mean, I think that's what I like most in stories. I think that's what I like most in all the stories I consume, like movies, TV, books. Like, I'm there to watch people interact in all the ways that people interact. It's like a thing I really love. Do you like a lot of description? Description of what? So on one hand, I don't mind, but on the other, I have aphantasia to a degree. I don't really know how much you can have aphantasia. All I know is I don't visually see things when I read, and I've never really cared. Like, I do still like, the best way I can describe it is when I read something, like if someone describes an apple, I don't really see an apple, but I do think about, how does an apple taste? How does it feel in my hand? Like, I think of those things, and that's what forms my image. It's more of like a feeling image, like a sensory image, and less of like a visual image. So in that regard, that's a lot of mental processing to not have a picture, right? So with like Robert Jordan, when he describes every little thing that's in the room, but he doesn't really give me an atmosphere, like he's just describing the room, at least that's how it translates to how my brain processes details. I'm just like, that was too much work. Like, I just spent like a paragraph and I don't even know what the room looks like or feels like. I don't know why we talked about all that. That was just like, that's a minute of my life I spent reading that paragraph and I'm never getting it back. So if it's like that, I don't like it. But I do like atmospheric descriptions because that more lends itself to like how I feel out a scene. So I don't mind when it's atmospheric, like Bear and the Nightingale. I really like how that's all described. I don't actually know if Sanderson uses a lot of description or not because his writing style is very direct, so it works really well for me. I think my stepdad and I were talking about it, and he's like, well, Sanderson's pretty descriptive. I'm like, I guess if he is, I'm not bored by it, you know? So the descriptions have to be relevant to me. Like, I need to be convinced why I care about why this thing looks the way it does. And sometimes, like, I just realized recently, I actually do really like descriptions of clothing in books. Like, Mask of Mirrors, I just read recently, and there are so many clothing descriptions in here, and I really like them. Like, this mask is described really well, and although, like I said, I don't visually read, I do still really like it because it had a purpose, and it really just, like, described the scene we were in, and it was really good. So it can work. Like, I can care of how many buttons or lacings are on something, but you have to convince me to a certain extent, and I think some authors are just better at that than others. So yeah, the answer is yes and no. Do you prefer standalones or series? I guess series, because I read primarily series. I think 50 to 60% of what I read in a month is from a series. I do think that also, if it wasn't just for me always continuing series, I do like that they're longer. It's kind of like, actually no, this is hard. So I do really like a standalone because it's a complete thought, and I really like an intentional standalone, and I love that when there's like one season of a show on TV and it's like super intentional, like Watchmen from HBO. It's like one season, really good story, personally to me. I can see you maybe wanting something different from the ending, but like for me it was like great. But I also really like series that keep going because then we can explore more. What I get nervous about is when a series goes too long. So if we cross that bridge, I get really nervous. So for example, I like Westworld on TV a lot, but I'm nervous that it's going to keep going too long. And I think that happens in fantasy series and sci-fi series a lot too, is where a series doesn't always know when to end. And so I try to pick series that I feel like I trust the author to finish it out because I do really like really fulfilling series. For example, I really love the Broken Earth trilogy. Such a good complete thought. Almost could just be one novel. I mean, one of the series I'm most into reading is the Stormlight Archives, obviously going to be a huge series, but from the gate, Sanderson said it's going to be 10 books, 1,000 pages each-ish. We're going to have a break around book 5. Like, that's been said since, like, 2010. So I trust the situation there. Versus I don't like when series, like, start but don't, like, have an end in sight. And I know that's, like, art, right? Like, I can't tell an author how to art. That's not what I'm trying to do. But personally, I feel more comfortable when there's an end in sight or there's already an ending, and then I feel really, really good about it. Because I've definitely had some of my best reading experiences at an end of a series. And I'm about to approach one right now where I'm rereading a series that, like, when I finished it, I was like, oh, I need to reread this now because everything is framed so differently, and I loved how everything concluded and tied together. I'm talking about the Winter of the Witch and the Winternight trilogy in general. So I do think I get more from series, but, like, there are standalones I love, like The Sword of Kaigan. Whew. I have never hit so many of the highs and lows that I normally get throughout a whole series in one book. Like, whew. So good. So short answer, I like series. Long answer, you just listen to. Single point of view or multiple point of view? I think on average I prefer multiple point of view, mainly because that increases my chances of connecting with characters. If there's more characters, I have more of a chance about caring. But also I like getting those different perspectives, and it allows me to have a better chance of seeing those interpersonal relationships that, you know, I really care about. So there's definitely that. So I do think I prefer multiple point of view. I'm like thinking of my shelves, and I'm pretty sure most of them are multiple point of view, short stories, multiple point of view. Oh, it's hard for me to remember with this one, because N.K. Jemisin could do funny things with stuff. So this one's hard for me to remember. This is multiple point of view, multiple point of view, multiple point of view. All these are multiple point of view. So I guess I definitely prefer multiple point of view, because these are kind of like my favorites shelves. So yeah. Do you prefer a strong start, middle, or finish? I'm definitely a finish person. You could give me the best beginning and middle ever, and if you don't stick the landing, or if the landing isn't quite there, you're not going to be a 5-star. Versus you could have a pretty bad beginning, and if you give me the ending of a lifetime, you could become 5 stars. It's very weird. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? You should be an average. But I really care about the taste in my mouth after I finish a book. An example is, like, I really loved the first, like, 80% of this book, 70%, and I didn't even hate the ending. I really liked the ending, but the ending didn't satisfy me. So this couldn't quite be a 5-star, even though it felt like a 5-star for over half the book. So it's like a 4.5 star, which isn't a big deal. Another good example is Black Sun. Also have a review for this. I feel like I have a review for everything I've talked about in this video, but I really liked the first 70-80% of this one as well, and I did not like the execution of the ending. And so this is like kind of like a 3.5, 4-star read for me, and I'm really excited for the sequels, but like it could have been a 4.5-star read. Like that's one of those things where if the ending doesn't stick, it loses half to a full star. So that's definitely like a thing for me. Another one is Storm of Locusts. I actually was having kind of a middling time with it for a long time, and then the ending was really good, so that like bumped it up a little. So I'm definitely very very biased towards strong endings when I read. So I figure I'll just tag a few people, because I think this is kind of fun to like talk about the different things you just like prefer in books. So someone I'm going to tag is Leanne from Leanne's Library. I think it'd be really interesting to hear her thoughts, especially like because our tastes sometimes align so well, and sometimes it's just like polar opposites of what we care about. I'd also like to hear from Abby Salter, because I feel like we align a lot, and I want to see if that actually holds true for like a lot of these. I also want to tag Q and TG, just because I love when they do tag videos, especially when they disagree. I mean, they'll probably disagree. They're not the same person whatsoever. And the last one I will tag is She Was Only Evie, because she just started her channel, and I think this is like a fun like maybe starter video for a channel. It's like get to know me as a reader sort of thing. And honestly, anyone who sees this, feel free to do it. I just thought it was like kind of like a fun put together list of prompts that I wanted to talk about. And that's it for this video. If you made it this far, put a book as the emoji, and otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.